cricket fan. Welcome back to the Into the Ashes podcast. I am Jamie Alter. I'm joined once again by Liam and Dom. This is a video brought to you by Dapper News. Not the result many fans, guys, would have been expecting, especially those who paid good money to sit through 5 days, of which almost 1.5 were gone down to rain. Terrifically poised test match. We knew the weather was going to be bad. Dom, good to hear that you got some time away to go to see your parents. But beyond that, a very damp squib of an ending to what was shaping up as a fantastic test match, guys.
Yeah, even as someone who is from Manchester, that was an incredible amount of rain for a weekend. Quite something else. I mean, yeah, it was a poised test match insofar as the series, but I've seen England absolutely battered Australia for 3 days. I think it has been a tight series, but in all departments, from team selection to what happened on the pitch, England got it right. But of course, some of England's approach was informed by the fact that Armageddon was coming at the weekend, and that's why they really put the hammer down. I don't think we should forget that there was those 30 overs on Saturday where Marnus Labuschagne has basically played the innings that retained the Ashes, found his form. It's very disappointing from an England point of view, but you know, there have been some wild things said about rain and reserve days and things. Rain is part of Test cricket. Playing for draws is a legitimate part of Test cricket, and you know that's fine. That's sort of what makes it what it is. I do think there are conversations we had about how you get more time out the day in England. You know, we come off on a fine day and it's bright sunshine at 7:00 at night over here. Maybe little things like we'll have an inspection, but we'll take an early lunch, with cricket being very cricket when we're also in the entertainment business. But I appreciate when Joe Root's saying play till 10:00, it can look like sour grapes with what's happened. It's very disappointing because England have played a lot of good cricket in this series. England normally get hammered in a test match in the Ashes, even the ones they win. So it's very strange to be here after 4 competitive games and the urn's gone again. But yeah, such is life.
Such is life. And regarding the rain, I don't think we'll ever get to a stage where anyone can think of some rule which keeps everyone happy. So that's something we're going to all have to live with. But Liam, Australia are going to take that, right? Ashes retained, almost a sense of getting out of jail. But look, 2-1 to them still.
Yeah, look, they did enough in the first 2 tests to get over the line and set themselves up for a position to retain the urn if there was a drawn test in the last 3. So look, it's a result, but I'm sure that Pat Cummins and the rest of the team, they're certainly not going to be resting on their laurels. They'll want to win the series. The job's certainly not done heading into the 5th test at the Oval. So look, there's still plenty to play for from an Australian perspective, and you know, some guys are possibly playing for their spot in the team for the next upcoming home summit here in Australia, and obviously looking forward to the Ashes back in Australia in 18 months' time. So there's still plenty to play for, even if the urn is coming back to Australia.
I'm just going to pick your brain on what you mentioned about Pat Cummins. Yes, he's not done much wrong in his overall captaincy tenure in the test format. His team is still 2-1 up, but there's been a lot of criticism coming out of both sides of the media over the last 10 days. How do you think that's is it going to affect him? Is he going to be like, look, one more match, then let's go home, let's put our feet up for a while? How do you think Pat Cummins is going to react to all this?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I think it would get to him when he hears ex-Australian players kind of openly criticising his captaincy. Even in series that we've won or performed really well in since he's taken over the job, there has been some criticism at times about his approach as a captain, and whether someone else, maybe like a Steve Smith, should be in the role. There seems to be a lot of cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, out on the field. Just watching the way that Australia operate and some of their field placements, it looks like there's a lot of voices out there when Cummins is the man with the C next to his name. Look, he'll want to win this series and win this next test. Whether he takes risks or he changes his approach a little bit in order to do that, I'm not entirely sure. But I think it would get to him when he does hear guys like Jason Gillespie and other ex Aussie cricketers criticising the way that he's captaining the side.
Tom, just coming to the English side, a lot of former players, a lot of pundits also being very harsh. We heard Michael Vaughan say that that's not how the Ashes should be retained. Am I right in guessing that there's sort of a sense of we was robbed out of all of this that happened on day 5?
That's very much in the English sporting muscle memory. If you go back to getting knocked out of Football World Cups on penalties, penalty shootout is a legitimate way to lose a football game. I don't really go in for it. I think England have been, on the balance of play, I think a level series going to the Oval would be fair and it'd be a great spectacle. It's a shame we've not got that. Let's not forget England retained the Ashes in 2013 because it rained at Old Trafford. So these things come around. Vaughan's got a sense for a soundbite and a sense for things that might make people talk. I don't think England got robbed. I think England lost the series because they lost Edgbaston, basically. I think that set so much of the tone. They put themselves in the position to win that game and couldn't get over the line. And there's a reason that in Ashes history, only once ever has a team won 3-2 from 2-0 behind. You put yourself in a really tough spot. I don't know. I think we can be very happy with how England played without loads of recriminations. Because I also saw Vaughan suggesting maybe James Anderson's selection was sentimental and has cost England in some sort of way. You kind of just looking for things. England played nearly perfect cricket for 3 days, and then it rained, and that happens sometimes, Vaughan's also a guy who's been, I think, overly critical at times of the Bazball approach, whatever you want to call it, during this series, and he's now sort of manning the barricades and thinking rain isn't a legitimate way for games to be drawn. Yeah, it's the Ashes, isn't it? People talk and people lose their heads. I think England have played a good series, but they are legitimately 2-1 down with one to play.
Yep. Well said. I think we need more of that kind of a more practical approach from many people in both sections of the media. But just very, very quickly to pick up on that, one man who had a fantastic test match, who always seems, at least to a neutral like me, to sort of be playing for his place, Zach Crawley, 189 off 182 balls. An innings that, of course, was very important because, like you said, there was Armageddon predicted on days 4 and 5, but it also said, and that comment he said that it's safe to assume that I would not have been playing this whole Ashes series under a different captain and coach. Is that kind of innings indicative of what Bazball has meant to so many players? Don't worry about the low scores, back yourself, and we believe you could come good someday.
Yeah, I mean, Crawley's in some ways has been a bit of a poster boy for Bazball, because whereas the reason it's been successful, again, haven't retained the Ashes, I forgot to mention that. The reason it's gone well, and England have improved from a position where they'd won 1 out of 17 preceding Stokes and McCullum coming in, is everyone's bought into it. But you have been able to look at most players and say, even by conventional cricketing measurements, they've improved. Going into the series, Crawley's average had barely moved. It was still under 30 before and after McCullum and Stokes. There's been a lot of buy-in to the idea of Zach Crawley. So as much as it's a success for him, it was still an innings where he sort of chopped a couple past leg stump and things like this. It was an innings that sort of validated the Bazball project itself, and hopefully that has a few more years to run with Stokes' fitness and things like that to bring it to the picture. But it was a great innings. It's going to be interesting to see how Crawley goes in India this winter. And then, sort of looking further ahead, you would imagine he'll still be in the England team when the next Ashes tour comes around. In the meantime, he's got Sri Lanka over next summer in England. He'll probably have some of those Sri Lankan nagging little medium pacers getting him out for nothing. But he seems to be a guy that, once the ball comes onto the bat, he's never looked more convincing as a test batsman than when he's facing Mitch Starc and Pat Cummins, which is kind of crazy. But it was one of the great Ashes centuries. It's a shame it didn't lead to one of the great Ashes wins.
Liam, on the one hand, Zach Crawley. On the other hand, Marnus Labuschagne. We've talked in previous episodes about the need for him to improve his record overseas. He's a guy who's been sat in England playing county cricket for a long time before the Ashes began. That innings, in hindsight with rain, massive for Australia and for Labuschagne.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This was a really important test for Marnus. This match, and he's helped Australia come away with a draw and and ultimately retain the Ashes with the way that he performed and scoring a really strong century. I don't think his place was ever in any major jeopardy, but just to silence a bit of the noise and some of the criticism about his record away from home, he needed a knock like that. And yeah, it's good. It's good to see that throughout the series, the majority of the Aussie batsmen have had at least one or two good innings. And yeah, Marnus really needed that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question. I just want a one-word answer. Dom, I'll start with you. The fifth test, Oval, England or Australia?
Australia, I think, actually.
Okay. Liam?
Yeah, I think the Aussies will get it done. They've probably got a little bit more to play for now. I think they'll want to win the series.
Well, it sets it up fantastically for the final test at the Oval. Thank you guys for joining me. Liam, Dom, we'll get you guys back on soon for me discussing something else apart from the Ashes down the line. Thank you everyone watching, and please, as always, head over to DAFA News website for the news, articles, reviews, and some of the things that I also write now and then too. Take care. Have a great week ahead.